What is going on, everybody? It is bush fishing. We're finally back. It's been a really long time, but sadly the day that I'm back is the day that I'm putting the boat away for the year. Today's video we're going to be winterizing my Johnson 20 horse 2-stroke outboard. If you guys are new here, I'm bush fishing. Normally I make fishing videos, but I also do a lot of outboard work. We do some other stuff too, but if that's something that you guys are interested, make sure to subscribe down below. I haven't done this in a while. Not wearing any bush fishing merch, we still have it on the website. First link down below in the description. We're going to start off by catching you guys up. You guys haven't seen this at all, I think. This is my new shop. We'll give you guys a quick tour. I got lights. I have pretty much all my crap for working on boats and other stuff here. A nice workbench. Right now we got the heater running. We actually just put these two doors on back here, so that's actually going to help a lot with the heat. But what I think the plan for today is we're going to take my boat out. I have some other stuff to do. I need to get the batteries out and stuff like that. We're going to take the motor off, bring it in here, and we're going to show you guys how to properly winterize your boat, especially if it's a 2-stroke, because you can't just run the gas out and call it good. And there's a lot of other stuff to do that comes with maintaining an outboard to make sure that you don't blow her up over winter. So I think the first thing on the agenda is to get the boat out, get the motor off, get it in here, and then we'll pick up from there. So make sure to stay tuned. Let's get to it. Alright everybody, so here is my boat. If you haven't seen this, I have an entire series on how I built it, from just the aluminum frame to carpet paint, building the extra live well, everything. I'll leave a card for that. It's called like Building the Best John Boat Ever. It's actually a really good in-depth series if you guys are wanting to do anything like this. But here we have her. Obviously the cowling says Evinrude. That is, it's an Evinrude cowling that I painted because it matched this boat. This is a Johnson 20 horse outboard. This thing has been a beast. If you guys have seen any of my videos before, you know this thing just rips. I actually pushed her really hard this summer. I put a lot of hours on this motor and it's been nothing but great to me. But part of that's because last winter I did the same thing. I properly maintained it, winterized it. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So a couple days ago it was freezing, raining. I think it was like 28 degrees. I decided to go out for some reason, but at the end of it I just unplugged the gas, let it run for a little bit, and then shut it off. So if you guys are wanting to do this and you still have gas in it, that's perfectly fine. But the thing is with 2-stroke outboards is they get their lubrication from the gas, so you don't want to run them dry on gas because then there's going to be no lubrication in the cylinders and your piston rings can scratch the cylinder and cause all kinds of problems later on. So don't do that. So let me get this motor on the stand in the shop and then we'll get more into it. I am actually sweating. It's kind of nice out in the sun, plus I got the heater on in the shop, so this is going to be a nice day for this.
Holy shit. Woo. Beautiful as ever.
Alright everybody, so here we are. This is my Johnson 20 horse. If it doesn't look like yours, I just have a hydrofoil on it, and there's an Evinrude cowling on here. So the first thing I'm going to do is take off the cowling. Now I'll explain a little bit about what you don't want to happen over winter. There's a few things we're going to be doing. One, we'll just start at the bottom. We're going to be draining out the gear lube. Now there's two theories to this. The main reason you're doing this is because if you have a bad prop shaft seal, drive shaft seal, gear selector seal, and you get any water in that gear lube, when it freezes over winter, which it will if you have water in there, next spring when things heat up they expand and that can actually crack your gear case down there. So you don't want that to happen. Now you can either drain it out completely and then refill it up with fresh gear lube and then leave it like that over winter, or you can just drain it out and leave it empty. If you put stable in your gas tank and you run it through the motor, you can leave gas in the carb, or if you just don't want to go through all that, you can drain out the carb completely, but you don't want to run it out because, like I said before, 2-strokes get their lubrication from the gas. So every time gas goes into the cylinder for combustion, there's that little bit of oil in there, and that oil goes on the walls, and that's what keeps everything lubricated. In a 4-stroke, you have oil in the bottom that comes up with it, and it's always on the walls, and then you're just getting straight gas in there. But not with a 2-stroke. So when you run it out of gas, then you're just running it dry, and those piston rings can scrape against the cylinder. You really don't want that. So we have a different method for doing that and making sure that the pistons don't lock up over winter or seize at all. And that's pretty much it for the main parts of it. There's a few other little jobs that we're going to do, but we'll get into that later. So the first thing that I'm actually going to do is I'm going to drain the gear case. So I'll move you guys down and we'll get into how to do that if you're really new to this. Okay, so here we are down at the bottom of the gear case. This is your prop, if you know that. Now, if you guys are really new to this, there's a screw down here and a screw down here. This one's your vent hole, and this one's your fill hole. Normally when you put gear lube in, you fill it in from the bottom till it comes out the top. Put the top screw in, then you put the bottom screw in, and everything's great. So to drain it, what you're going to do is take out the bottom screw first, because with that top screw in, it's not going to let air go through, so it's going to run out slower so you don't make a huge mess everywhere. And then you want to take out that top screw, and that's really important because taking that's going to let it drain out completely. Now when you take this out, your gear oil might be black or blue or whatever color you want you put in, but you do not want it to be milky, because if it's milky, that means water's getting in there, so you might have a bad prop shaft seal, drive shaft seal, gear selector seal, any of that, and that's a whole different problem. So hopefully it comes out black or blue or yellow, whatever color, just not milky or gray. So we're going to take out this bottom screw. Now, another important thing is sometimes the O-ring stays in the screw. Like that one stayed in there, so make sure that you don't lose that. You can see mine's coming out black. She got a little hot, but it's not milky at all, which means my seals are still good. So don't lose that screw, and don't worry about the O-ring if it's stuck in there. Just make sure it doesn't fall into where you're draining it to. Now, you guys can see how slow it's coming out right now. Hopefully you can see that. It's coming out really slow right now, so I'm going to take out the top screw. And you can see just like that how much faster it's coming out. The O-ring came out with this one. And you can see that baby's just draining now. Really thick. But there's no water in it, which is really good. Another thing you're going to want to look for is if there's any metal in here. Because basically this oil goes around. There's two gears. There's drive, reverse, and a dog clutch in the middle. When you put it in the gear, that dog clutch will grab the drive gear and it'll spin the prop one way. If you put it in neutral, it'll come out, it won't grab anything. And then if you put it in reverse, it'll grab the other one, spin the prop backwards. Those two drive and reverse gears are always spinning because the drive shaft's always spinning with the motor. And all of this oil goes around that to make sure that there's no hard clanking or grinding of the gears. And if you see metal shards in here, that means that something's a little messed up. You're getting a little bit of grinding or something. And some of those gears are shearing off, or your dog clutch in the middle is shearing off. So you really don't want that. This oil honestly looks pretty good. I haven't seen any metal chunks. It won't really look like metal chunks. It'll kind of look like glitter. And I'm not seeing any of that. Just black oil, which means this thing got actually kind of hot. So this is actually going to take a while to drain out. So if you just want to do this quick, we can move up to the motor. But what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to move outside to the boat and I'm going to start getting the batteries out of the boat. If you guys are leaving your boats outside all winter, it's a good idea to take your batteries out. And there's things called a smart charger, which you put them on over winter and it'll charge it up to 100%. Once it gets down a few, it'll charge it back up. I'm going to let this drain out completely. It's going to take a really long time. And I'm going to move outside. We'll do some stuff on the boat and then we'll come back in and drain the carb and probably fog the cylinders. Alright everybody, we're outside now. We're back by the boat. Now if you guys look in here, you can see I have one battery here, one battery here. My trolling motor, which is a Minn Kota Tarova up there, is a 24 volt. So that runs on its own 2 deep cycle batteries. And then, I don't know if you guys know this because I don't think it's been in a video, but I have lights, nav lights, interior lights, and a radio with 2 really nice speakers in here. And they all run off a separate battery that's way up in the front, because if I had 3 back here it would be kind of weird. But this boat still goes pretty fast. Even with the 3 batteries in here, I can hit 22 miles an hour alone on it. With this entire framing's all wooden, so that makes it heavy. Boat still rips, but right now I got to get these straps off the battery cases. I'm going to take out the 2 deep cycle in the back and then the one in the front. And then while we work on the motor, I'm going to charge them up a little bit, just so they're at a full charge before winter. And then we'll get working on the motor again. Okay, so we're onto the motor now. In the front here, this is your carburetor, and in front of it there's a little piece that blocks air from coming in. It's not an air filter, but does a similar job. Now if you want to drain your carb, right in front of here, in the front of the bowl there's a screw, but to get to it you got to take off this air filter piece. Now to do that, normally there's a linkage that comes from your fuel air mixture to up here to the actual needle, so you can twist it from down here. Mine's disconnected because this thing would vibrate it out and it would make it go all funky. But to get that off, you're going to take a screwdriver to this piece right here. You're going to take a screwdriver to this, pop this off, and then you're going to have to take off the choke linkage, which is one screw on the side down here. And all of this linkage will come out. You'll pull the choke out, which comes out of this piece of metal, more linkage. This will pop out. And then there's 3 screws on the front of it, or actually just 2 screws on the front of it. You'll pull that out, and you'll pull this fuel air mixture screw out, which is just popping the head off and then pulling it straight out. I'm not going to do that because I actually know that this is empty. So we'll get back to the carburetor later. But for now, we're going to move on to pulling out the spark plugs. So back here, obviously, you have your 2 spark plugs. You're going to pull off the backs of them. Now, I actually have a different head on here because I had a problem with this once, where last winter I put them in too tight. I stripped one and I was getting out on the water, and I actually blew out a spark plug. So when you put these back in, make sure not to over tighten them. So I'm going to quick grab a socket and pull these guys out. Okay, so basically all you gotta do is just break them free. Now that they're free, you can pull them out. I like to remember which spark plug comes from which cylinder. That's alright, but as long as you see these and they're not dry at the tips after running them, that's good. These were running a little bit rich, a little high oil, but running lean is the death of a 2-stroke. So, now that we got those 2 out, we're going to grab, what I use is stable fogging oil. Basically what this does is you shoot it in the cylinder, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it like twice just to let it move around in there. You don't want to overdo this because there's really no reason to, but you're just going to give it a quick 2-shot. Just like that. Maybe 3. Now next spring this is going to smoke like a son of a bitch. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put the spark plugs back in first, but I'm going to leave them disconnected so it doesn't start. What this is going to do is going to let those rings move it around, and it's going to keep it in there. So if there is, for any reason, any water or anything like that in here, it's going to get rid of that. And it's going to make sure that everything stays lubricated over winter. Okay, so those 3 pulls should be enough to cycle the pistons a little bit. I'm going to tighten the spark plug back up. Spark plug. Just enough, just until they stop, because I don't feel like putting a new head on this. And there you go. That is basically the end of what I'm going to be doing. I might give a shot of that fogging oil straight into the carb, just so if there is any residue in there, it doesn't like just dry up and turn to a goop and clog everything up later. But pretty much that's it. I'm going to let this lower unit drain out some more. Once that's done, I'm actually going to leave it empty over winter, because I really don't know where it's going to be yet. I might put it inside the garage where it might be warm. Okay, so that's really all that I got for this. My heater's going crazy, but that's basically the gist of how you winterize a 2-stroke outboard. Hopefully this video helped you guys, and make sure that your motor's running good next spring. All I got left to do is plug this baby up, and I don't really know if I'm going to leave it in here, put it on the boat, or put it in the garage yet. That's all I got left. I'm going to throw some batteries on the chargers, clean up the boat a little bit, get her put away. It's inside the shed, but I might put a cover on it anyways. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. We're going to be back very soon with all the ice fishing videos. It's getting real cold here. Lakes are starting to lock up, so that should be good. If you guys enjoyed any of this, if you want to see any more motor videos or some really good fishing videos, make sure to subscribe, pick up some bush fishing merch, first link down in the description, and I will see you guys on the next one.